Hello, welcome to the Gilshrat channel. My name is JB, and welcome to my 4th advanced tutorial for SCARM. In this tutorial, I'm going to show you how to create scenery and terrain such as valleys, hills, lakes, rivers, and streams, and then how to select and place trees on your layout. One of the things I want to show you to begin with, especially if you want to create a valley, is that in SCARM, when you create everything, it's at a default height of 0. So the vertical position of everything is at 0. Now in real life, if you wanted to, you could cut out a piece of your board, have a little section that hangs underneath, and then you could create like a little valley if you wanted to that way. Unfortunately, SCARM doesn't recognize negative vertical positions. So if you want to have a valley or anything where it dips down, you need to make everything else at a higher height. It's not that difficult to do. Once you've laid out your track, you can just double click on it so everything is selected. Then I'll zoom in here, click on your height tool, and then click on here. Make sure that this button is selected. That's what lets you input a number into there with your keypad instead of having to use the mouse roll wheel. And so let's make everything 3. I'm going to have my valley be 3 inches deep. So enter in 3. Oh, yeah, so you make sure you have that selected. 3. And you'll notice that when I first enter in 3, I do have a really steep grade here. You can see the tracks over here are at a lower level. If you want everything that's selected to be at the same height, all you have to do is after you enter in your number, press enter, click off the track so everything's unselected, then zoom out, and then you can see that all of my track is at 3 inches. And then if you go to the 3D view, you can see everything is 3 inches up from the board. So you can kind of think of this as though you have a 3-inch piece of styrofoam on top of the plywood that you're using for your layout, and then you're going to cut into it to make your terrain, kind of like you would in real life. So now what I'm going to do for this tutorial is I'm going to put a little valley over here. I'll have a little lake and then a stream run over into the valley, and then I'll put a little hill up here, and I'll have a little tunnel for this corner. So to do that, we're going to use the polygons. That was a feature that I had mentioned in some of my earlier tutorials, but we never used. So to get to the features, click the down arrow in your libraries menu, scroll all the way to the bottom, and there at the bottom are figures, and then click on polygon. Now to make polygons, what you'll do is you will find a start point, click, move your mouse, click to place another point, and then you keep doing that until you've completed the shape that you want to make. So we'll start there. See how there's that piece hanging off. I'm not holding down on my mouse button. All I'm doing is just clicking with the left mouse button. Click, click, something like this. And then to complete the shape, bring your mouse over near where you made your first point, and then right click, and now it has completed the polygon. We don't need to worry about the height unless you want to be able to see this polygon. I don't. And you don't have to worry about the vertical position if you want this to be all the way at the bottom of the board, which I do. I want it to be 3 inches deep, so I want it to be at level 0. Now if I just leave it like this, and you go to 3D, you're going to see nothing happened. Okay, nothing's going on. To make it so that this affects the terrain or the board, click on the shape, right click, go back to properties, and select this item here. It says snap terrain to bottom. Do that, click OK, go to 3D, and now you'll see that we have a valley here at the bottom. Now, if you don't want it to be as steep, see how it's really steep around the edges, you can draw another polygon around it so it's not a straight down. So why don't we do that real quick? So I'll go back to the polygon tool, start over in this corner, here, here, do a little bit of a different shape. The first one. Overhang a little bit, and then right click to reconnect. And this one, I'm going to make it halfway, so we'll make it 1.5 inches. Snap terrain, say OK. And then if you go to the 3D view, you can now see that I have a little bit of indent, so it's not just a steep drop off. Okay. And you'll also notice that it's automatically putting these pillars here on the track. If you want it to look like a bridge, this was covered in the track tutorial. All you have to do is select your pieces of track. You can hit the shift key to select multiple pieces, and then you can press bridge, you go to 3D, and now there's like a bridge platform, like a trestle. Okay, so that's how you do that. One of the things you might have noticed was that these polygons were over the top of the track until I clicked on them. A way to make that disappear so that you can see through them is when you click on the polygon, go to the properties, and then where color, if you click on this over here, it makes it transparent so you can see through the object. So that way, if it's over the top of something you want to see, you'll be able to see it in the 2D view. Okay, so now I've made my little valley here, and now I want to build a hill. So the next thing I will do is I will go back over to the polygon, and I will draw a little hill here. So I'll start out with it being kind of close to where the track is. Right click to close. Let's make this. Now remember, because everything's up at 3 inches, we have to start or make 3 our base level. So let's say we want this hill to be 4 inches tall. 4 plus 3 would be 7 inches. And then I will click to snap terrain, make it transparent, click OK. And now I go to 3D, and now I have this hill here. Now it does look kind of funky. This track is going right into the hill. There's no portals or anything for a tunnel. So if you want to build a tunnel, click on the piece of the track that will be inside the tunnel. Push down on the shift key to select multiple pieces of track. And then go up here and click on the tunnel icon. And then when you go back to 3D, you will now see that it has made portals for going in and out of the tunnel, like that. And you'll also know that it has, or also notice that it has automatically affected the terrain so that there is height over the track. Now let's say I want to make this a little bit taller. We can make another polygon in the center here. So we could do one like this. And we'll make this one 9 inches. Make it transparent. Make it snap to terrain. Okay. And then I also don't want this to go, I want this to kind of be a slow rolling downhill. So I'll put another rectangle, or sorry, not rectangle. I want to use the polygon. So the polygon. And we'll make this one, let's make this one 4.5 inches. Make it transparent, snap to terrain, click OK, And I go to 3D, and there we go. So now I kind of have a little bit of a hill there, a little bit of a mountain, and you have the train going into a tunnel. So the next thing I want to do is I want to build a lake, and then I want this lake to have a little stream that goes down into this valley and off to the edge of my layout. So to do that, go back to Polygon. Let's put the lake right here. So I'll just start dragging. And to make it look a little more realistic, you might want to put a lot of points so it's a little more curved and straight. Do that, and then right click to connect. And then this time I'm going to give it the minimal height, which in inches is 0.04 inches. I believe, once again, if millimeters, I believe it's 1 millimeter, but you might have to experiment with that if you're using metric. And in this case, we want this to be sitting on the top of the layout there, which is at 3 inches high. So let's make the vertical position 3 inches. And then we'll make this a dark blue color for water. Click OK. And then now when I go to 3D, you now see that there is a lake right there. You'll see that there's a little bit of this overlapping here of the terrain. That happened because I forgot to have it snap to the terrain. So let's snap that to the terrain, click OK, go back to 3D, and now that's gone. So now I have a lake. So now let's build a stream. And in this stream, we're probably going to have a couple little waterfalls. So I'll show you how to do that. So exit out of there. So now I'll draw a polygon. We'll go to about, let's say, here. And actually, that's too straight. If you want to go back, Control Z goes back to your last point. Cancel. Oh, I messed that up. Okay, so go back to Polygon. Actually, back to the selecting tool. Okay, I made a couple mistakes there. So selecting tool, delete. Selecting tool, delete. Apparently Control Z did not work. That's what I was trying to do, and it messed everything up. So if you mess up, you just have to delete the polygon and start over again. So let's have a little stream like this. I just didn't want it to be perfectly straight. I'm going to try to make that as flat as possible so I can have a little bit of a waterfall there. Connect that in, and then right click to complete. Leave this at 3 inches, 0.04. Make it dark blue for water. Snap to terrain. Okay, now I want to have a little bit of a waterfall and have this go onto this piece here. So I'll draw another polygon. I'll try to line it up so it's the very edge. And this one will have, I go like that. And then right click to complete. And then if we remember right, that piece of terrain or that polygon there was at 1.5 inches. So we'll make this 1.5 so it matches. And we'll give it a height of 0.04. Give it a color of dark blue. Click OK. Okay. Now if I go to 3D, you can see that I have this terrain here. It's actually a little bit high. So what I might want to do, because it was pulling the terrain down for this, is lower the level of both the lake and this river here, or stream. So that's really easy to fix. Properties. Let's give this a height of 2.8 inches. And then I'll do the same thing with this. 2.8. Okay. And then I'm going to double check to make sure that this is snapped to terrain, which it wasn't. So there we go. So click OK. Go to 3D. And now our terrain's a little bit lower. But you'll notice, you see how this part is hanging out over? You probably don't want that. What I'm going to do is to create a waterfall. I'm actually going to put a polygon right there that looks like water splashing down. So to do that, I'm going to exit out of there. click this, go to properties, inside contour, this way it's a little bit closer. Go back to 3D, see how it's a little bit closer, it's not hanging up as much. And then what I will do is I will take polygon and I will draw a polygon right here where the two streams intersect, and then I will right click to complete it. So now what I'm going to have to do to get the height right, so it looks like a waterfall on the vertical, is first let's make it go down to the height of the other piece, which was 1.5, and then the height of this was 2.8, and then you're going to want to go up to the top of the polygons. Remember we added a 0.04 of an inch, so we'll add that 0.4 there. So that'll give us some height. Go to color, dark blue, click OK. I'm not going to snap this to terrain because I already have these two pieces doing that. OK. Go to 3D, and it's a little bit too tall. Apparently I made it too tall. Oh, that's right, because on an object like this, it's going to give you the height based off of where it started. So we can fix that real simple. So I'll click on that, properties. So to make this height correct, let's just make the vertical position 0. Okay, go back to 3D, and there you go. So now we have a waterfall. The water is flowing down into this little stream there, and then we'll do a second one for over here. So let me polygon, and then this piece, we'll have it go all the way to the edge of the layout. And then right click to complete. This one will leave it at 0.04 height. Make it blue. Okay, okay. And now we'll put the polygon in for the waterfall. Right click. And then if you remember right, this was at 1.5 inches up. So make that 1.5. Leave the vertical position 0. Make that dark blue. We're not going to snap the terrain on there, but I don't think I snapped the terrain on this one. So let me fix that. No, I didn't. So fix that. Okay. So now I go to 3D view, and now I have a stream coming out of my lake. And I got the waterfalls and going off the board. And if you really wanted to, which would probably make a little more sense, I'd probably having the stream come off the mountain and down to the lake. But I'm not going to do that now just to save time. Alright, so now we have a hill, we have a lake, we have a stream. Now we want to add some trees. So to add trees, you're going to go back over to your libraries, click the down arrow, click on objects, or actually just put the cursor over it, and then this menu will pop up, and then down here you see trees, and now you have a bunch of different size trees. The size tree that you need is going to all depend on what scale you are building your layout. Since I'm in one of the smaller scales, HO, actually HO is kind of in the middle for the scales that you can build on here, going all the way down the Z and I think up to G scale. These smaller trees tend to be about the right size for a small tree. Medium tree would be kind of like, medium-sized tree, maybe about the height of a building, like a 1 or 2 story building. And then if you want like those big, huge trees you might have in a forest or something like that, then you would use the large ones. These are kind of like your deciduous trees. And then if you scroll down, there are also evergreen trees or fir trees. So just to kind of give you an idea of what some of the sizes are, I'll put an extra large there. Now when I just clicked, it put it there because that was the last spot that my mouse was at. All you have to do is right click on it, delete if you want to move it. If you want to position the trees, you just right click on the icon and then drag. And so I will drag these trees out in order so you can get an idea of how big they will look. And then I'll do the same thing for evergreen over here. And go to 3D. And so now you can see the different size trees and how they work. So like I said, just depends on what scale you're building it in and how big you want the trees. Right. If you want to delete all of them, just select. You just click and drag without anything selected with your left mouse button. And then I'll just be careful not to select any of the polygons, though, then you'll destroy those. Let's make sure I don't have any tracks selected. So now I'm going to just use the deciduous trees. Probably the medium size is good. So just click and drag your trees around your layout like that. Take a little bit of time. You can build a whole forest just by putting a bunch of trees together and setting them out on the layout like that. And go back to 3D. And so now our layout's starting to look a little bit better, like it's got some nice scenery and stuff on it. Another thing you can do is you can change what type of pillars you have on the track. To do that, exit out of this. Click over on your track, so the shift, so all those pieces are selected, and then right click, and then right here where it says track supports, you can have it solid, arch, or pylon. Right now it's set to pylon. If you want to go to arch, go to 3D, and in this case you can see that there are now arches underneath. You could also go to, oops, I didn't have it selected properly. Right click, and then I can also go to pylon, 3D. So now you have those small little pylons in the center. And then if you want to go back, you can go back to default, which is solid. So that is how you do basic terrain and scenery in SCARM. Hope that was helpful. And if you find these videos helpful and interesting, please subscribe to my Gilshrat channel. Thank you.